Good day. Today I want to talk to you a bit about having your information in the right format. Now, in my 26 years of experience in multiple industries, I've found that most businesses actually have a lot of data. They just have it in a wrong format. So most people, most companies are sitting in the paper age, as I like to call it. So that means you've got everything on paper. You've got files and files full of paper, invoices, reports, statements, everything that goes with that. But it's in a paper format. Well, you can argue that some companies have already gone electronic and got everything in Excel spreadsheets. It's still really the paper format, paper age. All you've done is you've taken papers and made it electronic. You haven't really done anything with the data per se to make it more useful. Now, the alternative to this is going into the information age. Now, all of you will say, well, I know about the information age. I go onto the internet, I Google, I know how to find information, weird information like who won the 200-meter hurdles women's in the last Olympic Games. So that's what you do in the information age. But why can you Google it for information that's not related to your business, but you can't do it for your business? Now, I'm not suggesting that you put your staff salaries and profitability of your business on Google, because that will be a bit of a problem. But why don't you use the technology of the information age to get your information in the format that you would want it? So typically that means taking your data out of a paper format, even out of Excel, and putting it in some sort of a database where you can access that information. Now, as an example of this, one of my clients is a bulk water supplier. And one of the questions they were asked is, what is the stock quantity of the water that we have on stock at the moment? So in other words, all the water that's still in the pipe, all the water that's in the reservoirs, that adds up to stock for this company. And what's the value of that water? Now, traditionally, you'd need to phone somebody. Phone them to find out how long is the pipeline, what's the size of the pipeline, what's the size of the reservoir, how much water is in the reservoir, and then have an engineer sit down and do this calculation for you. When he sits down, gets the calculation done, after a day or two, he will come up with some sort of a number that say, this is my stock value. But what if I had that information in a database? So in my database, instead of just knowing I've got a reservoir, I've got a list of reservoirs with sizes. Also on my database, instead of having a report that tells me how full my reservoirs are, I can see through telemetry and database and everything that goes on what the current level of my reservoir is. My asset system keeps all my pipelines, the sizes of my pipelines, the length of the pipeline. And now having all that data available without having to phone anybody or to look up some reports or to do some very difficult calculation, with one push of a button, I can see what my stock value is of my water in my system. So that's what I mean by not having just data, but having data in a format that you can actually use. So go back, here's a little bit of homework for you. Go back and look at all the data you are compiling, all your files, all your invoices, all the reports, all the logbooks you are keeping. What are you doing with that? Are you bringing it into a database, or does it remain in a paper format? And once you get it in a database, just think of what you can do with that data. Thank you very much. Next week we talk a bit more about your facts, numbers, and statistics.